No, 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 no. Oh my gosh. What the fuck? Oh my gosh. Oh, no, my. If there's one level that I have to beat on stream, it's this one. I didn't beat Crimson Planet on stream. I didn't beat Nova on stream. This one's happening on stream. No matter what, this is gonna be the one that I beat on stream. Hell, I'm gonna beat it tonight. Play it again. I beat Bloodlust. I freaking beat Bloodlust. Oh my god. Oh my gosh, I fucking beat Bloodlust. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Oh, I fucking beat it. Oh my gosh, I fucking beat Bloodlust, dude. Oh my gosh. I'm just taking it in, man. I'm really just taking it in. Pizza buff is real, dude. Pizza buff is real. Holy shit, dude. Get a Dr. Pepper. Bro, it's like, I got work in the morning. I really shouldn't. You know, I'm gonna be up anyways. I fucking beat Bloodlust. Of course I'm gonna crack one open. Why wouldn't I crack one open? Dude, we got the 11:45 Dr. Pepper. Let me just Alright, well, let's see if I broke 20K. For a grand total of 20,161 attempts, which for Bloodlust is way less than I was expecting. I am so proud of that. That is insane. I am so proud of that, dude. I guess I'm gonna do a similar thing to what I did with Crimson Planet whenever I beat it. My history with this level goes as far back as my time with this game does. For those of you who don't know how I started my time with this game, I had a tonsillectomy in 2017. I was bedbound for a week. And during that week, I was really bored, so I downloaded Geometry Dash back on my iPad. And I started playing it. I beat up to like Clutterfunk and stuff. And a couple months after that, like 2 months after that happened, Bloodlust got verified. So one day on my YouTube app, on my iPad, I saw the verification for Bloodlust come up. And I clicked on it not knowing what it was, knew nothing about GD. I opened up the verification video and seeing Bloodlust just blew my mind. I did not know that this game got so difficult. And from the moment that I saw this level, I wanted to beat it. I wanted to be a victor. Did I know that that goal was gonna take me 7.5 years? No, I did not know that. But tonight I can stand proud and say that I actually did follow through with that goal. This is my ultimate demon. This is my ultimate goal. There was no other level that will be nearly as like monumental to me to beat as this level. Beating this, being a victor of Bloodlust is something that just, it means so much to me. This level means so much to me. And the fact that I'm sitting here staring it in the face is absolutely unreal. And I'm so happy. I'm so proud, dude. Oh my gosh. Alright, so Bloodlust. If it's not obvious, I'm filming this the next day. I beat Bloodlust about 24 hours ago, pretty much exactly on the dot. And I decided that instead of doing my typical review where I give my thoughts and opinions on a level like the moment after I beat it or an hour after I beat it, I decided to actually like kind of flesh out this review and not really write a script, but write bullet points and stuff so I could refer to this level, because Bloodlust means the world to me. This is one of the most important levels in the game to me, like monumentally and just in general. So I wanted to do this level justice with my review. So this is going to be my attempt at that. So this is going to be a lot more clean and a lot more like well-paced than my other reviews, I think, because I did put some thought and effort into this. So I hope y'all enjoy this. So the best way that I can describe Bloodlust is there are 4 sections to the level. We have 0 to 25%, which I call the introduction. We have 25 to 48%, which is Evasium to the end of Nicro. We have 48 to 67%, which is Etzer to the extension, and then we have 67 to 100%, or the extension. These 4 parts of the level are what make Bloodlust Bloodlust. The way that each section of this level is balanced and the way each plays, it basically creates an amazing experience. Bloodlust has this amazing ability to tension build solely due to how this level is balanced. While not a lot of people like that, I think this level does it pretty much perfectly. Obviously I have a lot of bias because I've always loved Bloodlust, but I'm gonna get into it in a second. So I'm gonna go front to back. I'm gonna go to this level front to back. I'll talk about each part and all my thoughts about each section. Starting off with 0 to 25%. There's really nothing notable to say about this part of the level. It is by far the easiest part of the level in my opinion. That being said, it's also the most inconsistent. Besides the first ship, there really is nothing super difficult about the first 25% of Bloodlust. Where the first 25% of this level became a problem sometimes was in the fact that it was pretty inconsistent as compared to everything else. With 25 to 100% on Bloodlust, it was super consistent. There was a definitive click pattern to everything, or it was just very consistent in nature. The only parts of the level that were truly inconsistent, I feel like, were the first 25%, which honestly is a great place to have the inconsistent parts of the level, because holy crap, I'd rather that not be anywhere else than the first 25% of the level. But it would kind of make me upset sometimes because I wouldn't be like, I'd be super consistent with like Evasium to 100, but I wouldn't be able to get to Evasium because the first 25% can be very inconsistent, especially if you're not 100% focused. I wouldn't call the first 25% of this level super difficult by any means, but it definitely adds to the tension that this level builds whenever we get into the second section of this level, which is, in my opinion, the hardest part of this level. 25 to 48% on Bloodlust contains 3 of the hardest parts of the level. We obviously have Namtar and Nicro, which are infamous for being absolutely insane parts, but we also have Evasium, which I found to be one of the hardest parts of the level. Despite how difficult these 3 parts were to get down and get good at, this honestly rivals the extension for my favorite part of the level. Like, this part was so much fun. It is so satisfying to do. Namtar's ship is genuinely some of the most fun ship gameplay I have ever played, and Namtar's part is by far far the hardest part of Bloodlust. Like, nothing compares to how hard I found Namtar's part. Not Nitro, not Evasium, not Etzer, not any part of the extension. Namtar's part is absolutely ridiculous, and despite that, I absolutely adore the part. The ship movements, the way you fly through it, and the ship control you gotta have, it is so satisfying. Not to say it couldn't be annoying sometimes, because it is a very difficult part, and I would die a lot there, because it's just genuinely impossible, but it was such a fun part. I absolutely adore Namtar's part. Evasium's part, I also really enjoyed. It was ridiculously difficult. It is hyper buffed from Bloodbath's version, especially the wave. Obviously, look at the mini wave, dude. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it was never really inconsistent. I mean, I died to it because it's a very difficult part, but it was always a very consistent part. If I were focusing, I'd be able to get past it basically every attempt. Evasium, I think, is a really good tension builder, or it's a really good, like, stress builder into Namtar's part, because you're playing a section which is really hard but still really consistent, but it builds up your stress levels, so once you get thrown into the hardest part of the level, it's a really, really cool way to build tension. And then after Namtar, we have Nitro. What I call Nitro is the ship starting at, I believe, 42%, leading into 48%. It's that entire really fast section that replaced Asonic's Ball and Bloodbath. This is my hottest take of this entire review. I did not find Nitro very hard. I think Nitro is very overhyped, and I'm including the swing copter. I did not find Nitro to be nearly as much of a roadblock as many other people did. Like, of course, it's still one of the harder parts of the level, absolutely, but I found it easier than Evasium. I also found it easier than Etzer. I really didn't find Nitro's part to be that bad, especially towards the end. I would get past it every single attempt sometimes. I mean, I probably had like a 50-60% pass rate with it, but I just never died with it because it got so consistent. There's such a consistent click pattern to it. It never really posed that much of an issue for me. And it was also really fun. I really like Nitro's part. Nitro's part's also one of my favorite parts of the level. Like, it was such a fun section. Absolutely brutal at some points. Like, 44% is such an insane transition, but God, it is so much fun. And again, the swing copter I never struggled with. I feel like I barely ever died to the swing copter. If I ever died in Nitro, it was to 42% or 44%. I never really died to the swing copter. I died there every once in a while, but it was never like consistently. I just never struggled with it. I know that's like gonna be a pretty hot take considering that a lot of people call Nitro the hardest part of Bloodlust, but I did not find it that difficult. I don't know if that's a me thing or me being ship carried, but I simply didn't find it that hard. Overall, 25 to 40% on Bloodlust is definitely the hardest part of the level for me. It trumps the extension. It's absolutely ridiculous in difficulty. That being said, it's one of the more fun parts of the level. After Nitro's part, it leads us into the third section of the level, 48 to 67%. Now, this section of the level is also not super difficult. It has some really hard parts. There's Etzer's part, which in my opinion is one of the harder parts of the level. I struggled a lot with Etzer's part because it's so awkward. And then there's also like a couple choke points thrown in there. 48 to 67% is some of the best tension building I've ever seen in a level. Anytime I would get past Nitro, or specifically get past Etzer, I would feel my nerves rise, like spike almost, because like, oh my gosh, I just got past some of the hardest parts of the level. I have a chance at the extension, because 48 to 67 for the most part is extremely fair, but it's not free. You still gotta focus and really lock in with the part because you can very easily choke everything. None of it's ultra difficult, but none of it's easy. I will say that I'm gonna go into Etzer's part. Etzer's part was one of my least favorite parts of the level. I think the buffs that they made to Etzer's part were kind of dumb. I don't like Etzer's part in Bloodbath. Whenever I was warming up to beat Bloodlust, I beat Bloodbath like 8 times. And what the hell are you doing back there? She's chasing her tail. Etzer's part in Bloodbath I never truly liked, and so for them to take it and buff it in the way they did to where it's mainly just more awkward. They just threw a bunch of like gravity portals in there and a bunch of weird transitions, and it made the part just really awkward as opposed to really difficult, and as a result, it was really frustrating. Before I had to drop this level because of school, Etzer's part was like, it was such a motivation killer because I would just constantly die to Etzer. Whenever I came back to it in June, I was actually really consistent with Etzer, and it didn't pose nearly as much of a problem to me as it once did, but Etzer's part was a big roadblock for me. It was hard, man. I think that's mostly just a me thing. I think Etzer's part didn't pose as much of an issue as to other people as it did to me, but that was my experience with it. I think the only other specific gameplay parts I have to mention are like the 58% wave. I didn't like that wave. Also bad buffs. Like I get they were trying to make the wave harder, but there was no reason to add 2 really awkward gravity changes. That's dumb, especially the first one. Like they're so awkward, dude. And then the other complaint I have is the 63% blue orb. That blue orb is an insane choke point. I died 6 times to that blue orb, but it's actually ridiculous how hard that timing is. But yeah, other than the 63% click, the 58% wave, and Etzer's part, 48 to 67%, It's fine. There are some fun parts in there, but when comparing it to the rest of the level, it's really not my favorite part. But what it leads into is 67 to 100%. This is the extension. This contains probably the most iconic parts of Bloodlust, besides like Namtar. The extension is peak 2.0 gameplay. The extension is so much fun. I absolutely adore the extension of this level. It is built so well, and it plays so incredibly well for it being made like, what, 8 years ago at this point. It is such a well-built part. It's some of the best gameplay I've ever played. It's so much fun, and oh my gosh, it is so intense from zero. The first time I got to Zaro from zero, it was just this feeling of this rush of pure energy and like not fear, but nerves. That like, oh my gosh, I made it to Zaro. I got past Manix. I can get so far. I will never forget that feeling that Zaro gave me the first time I got to it. It is the most intense feeling I have ever had playing a level in Geometry Dash. I truly do think this is the most intense level I've ever played. Is that a mental thing? Probably, but that's how I feel about this level. I truly do think it's the most intense level I've ever played. I don't really have many complaints with the extension. I will say that Manix's part was kind of a big choke point. The robot at 70%, there was a blue orb that was pretty hard. The 72% wave was, I mean, it's just really easy to choke on nerves, and the transition out of it's kind of stupid because you gotta go low in the wave or else you'll die to the UFO, which is stupid, but it's not terrible, and it did end up getting very consistent. Zara's part was a blast. I have no complaints with Zara's part. I never died to it from zero, which is really cool. The 80% green orb is kind of hard, but it got very consistent, never died to it. And here comes probably the most iconic part of Bloodlust. We have the corridor. Man, this part was actually a big problem for me at some points. The days leading up to me beating this level, I would constantly lose runs to the corridor. And I don't know why. The ball and the UFO right after the ball, I would choke it constantly. And I think it's because it's so fast and it's so intense. You don't really have time to look and time. You kind of just go with the click pattern for the part. And if you click too fast or too early, it kills you. So I think that was my big issue with it. That being said, I think I only died to the corridor like, what, 3 times? So it wasn't too bad. And I do really like the corridor. It's such a fun part, and it's so intense, and it's so iconic. You don't ever see corridor parts like the one you see in Bloodlust. It is so iconic, and it's absolutely awesome. I love that part, despite how much of a problem it was for me at some points. Then we have Terran, and the part after Terran, I forgot his name. This section of the level I was always pretty consistent with. I never really had a big issue with this part. 89, 90, and 91 were all like, you know, very difficult. I did end up dying to 90 and 91 from zero, both within about like 15 minutes of each other. I really like this part. It was a lot of fun. There's really not much for me to say about it, and I think it's a great way to lead into TMN. TMN, man. TMN is possibly the most stress-inducing part in any level I've ever played. It beats out the duels in Nelv. It is so scary. What makes the TMN so scary is that for the most part, the extension is just a click pattern. If you memorize a click pattern and you get muscle memory for it, you don't have to really focus during the extension for the most part. You can just recite your click pattern and you're guaranteed to get past it for the most part until you get to TMN. TMN is purely skill-based, and that's what makes it so scary. Skill-based gameplay on nerves is so easy to mess up, and TMN is a prime example of this. TMN is so unbelievably stressful from zero, and I'm blessed that I only died to it once. I only ended up choking it once, and I was fluking from 81, so it was a very reasonable choke. TMN's part is absolutely evil, and oh my gosh, what a hell of a way to end off the experience that is Bloodlust. Man, I am so glad I didn't die to the last straight fire, the triple, man. Whenever I got to TMN the second time, was whenever I beat it. In my mind, I knew I was gonna beat it that attempt. I was in such good control of my nerves. Getting to TMN and knowing that this is the attempt, it was just absolutely unreal. I absolutely adore this level. This level is an experience like no other. Bloodlust is an absolutely amazing experience. I absolutely adore this level. It is so much fun. This is actually one of my favorite levels in the game. This is some of the most fun I've ever had playing the game, despite the fact that it was very frustrating at some points. But the thing was, whenever I got frustrated with this level, it wasn't because I was mad at the level. I was mad at myself because I was inconsistent. I was upset because the level's just hard. It's not because the level's bad. I find the level so much fun. This is genuinely one of my favorite levels in the game, and the whole experience of being able to play and beat this level was everything I'd hope it would be. I was hoping that I would get the full Bloodlust experience, and I truly do feel like I did. I feel like I earned my completion, and it was so satisfying to be able to pass that final triple, man. I'll never be able to describe the feeling of finally being able to beat this level that I've been looking forward to beating for literally my entire time with this game. This is my ultimate demon, and I'm so glad to be a victor of it. As for difficulty, I underestimated this level. I was expecting this to be closer to the difficulty of Fog or Nelv, when in reality, I actually found this very close to Crimson Planet in difficulty. I'm not saying Crimson Planet's overrated. I'm not saying Bloodlust is underrated. I'm saying that I personally found this much closer to Crimson Planet than I did Fog and Nelv. Crimson Planet's still harder. That's still my hardest. I think it's the fact that I got super lucky with Crimson Planet, and it was a very good experience for me, and Bloodlust stressed me the hell out. I think that's making Bloodlust seem much more difficult to me than Crimson Planet was to me mentally. It comes down to Bloodlust being the most mentally challenging level I have ever played. Yeah, I found this level really hard. So yeah, it's still list worthy. Put it back on the list. I beat this while it was on the list. Screw you, Porno Crate. Just kidding. Anyways, Bloodlust is one of the most monumental levels to me in the game. I have wanted to beat this level since the moment I joined this community, and the fact that I'm finally able to complete this level, and despite the fact that it's not my hardest, I don't care. Like, just, it is the most proud I have ever been on myself, because this is my ultimate goal with this game. This was my ultimate goal, and last night at 11:45, I did it. I finished my goal and I beat Bloodlust. It feels absolutely amazing to be a victor of this level, and it's now one of my favorite levels in the game. So I'm so proud of this. I am so proud of this. I just want to thank every one of you who came to the streams. Bloodlust is probably my favorite streaming experience of all time, and I actually managed to beat it on stream, which I'm so glad about. As I said in my completion, if there was any level I needed to beat on stream, it needed to be Bloodlust, and I did just that. Thank you all so much for watching, especially those of you who watch my entire review. It really does mean a lot, because I really do put my heart and my soul into every single review. No matter how rough they may be, I try my best to voice my opinion on all levels that I beat and everything that I feel about each level. And the fact that even one person watches the reviews really does mean the world to me, because I'm very proud of where my content's gone recently, and I'm not just like a level replay channel anymore. And I've actually kind of developed into a review channel recently, and I'm very proud of that. One final time, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you all for the support, and just like I said with Crimson Planet, we aren't stopping here. Y'all have a good one.